Hello everyone, this is Darshil and welcome back to another episode of FPL must-haves. Today I'm gonna go over Game Week 30's 3 must-haves that you want in your teams to climb up the ranks. Before that, I'm quickly gonna go over my team for Game Week 29 where I played the bench boost, talk a little about the must-haves that I suggested, and then go over to the fixtures that the teams have, the teams are trying to target, and then finally into what we're here for, the 3 must-haves for Game Week 30. So right into it, I got a monstrous 131 pointer, and I think that was pretty good. This is my 3rd successive green arrow, and I'm into top 70k, I could say. Pretty good result, I guess. 3 of the players that I suggested for last week were Bruno, Rashford, and McAllister. And Rashford got a 12 pointer, the only goal in the game against Brentford today. McAllister got a penalty in his first game and then blanked in the second, and Bruno blanked in both. So I guess overall it was pretty good. They did give some good returns where not a lot of people gave too high scores except maybe Watkins and Trippier, who you wouldn't generally captain, but I think these two were pretty good and not too far off who everyone would have captained, say in terms of Mitoma, McAllister, Maddison or Rashford. So I think they were good picks. I think this week was really great for me, and I'm really looking to try and get into top 50k next with Game Week 30. So yeah, let's move into the fixture analysis and look at who we're trying to target for the next game. So quickly going over the fixtures that we have, Arsenal's facing Liverpool away and don't have any doubles or blanks coming up. That's something to consider because Arsenal players are quite popular. Villa's facing Nottingham Forest at home, so Watkins might actually be an outside captain shot for those of you who want to risk it. In terms of Brentford, I have like 3 Brentford players. They have Newcastle at home, so you probably don't want to expect a clean sheet as Newcastle had just put 5 past West Ham, but they do have kind of good fixtures after that: Wolves, Villa, Chelsea, and Nottingham Forest, where you'd probably consider Brentford to be the strongest team in those 4 fixtures. And then Brighton have Tottenham away, Chelsea away, and then a blank and then a double in 34. So I guess the general consensus for Brighton players is that if you're free hitting in Game Week 32, you can load up on their players as they still have 4 doubles to come. And as much as fixtures against Tottenham and Chelsea may seem bad, I think Brighton are doing much better than the others. They're probably favorites to win both games, even if here it says like only 37% chance or 33% to win. I think they've been exceptional compared to Tottenham and Chelsea, who don't even have managers in a kind of in a transitionary phase. Chelsea have Wolves away and Brighton at home. I think Chelsea look really good, so maybe their defense was actually kind of solid. So you'd back people like Reece James, who scored a goal that was ruled out, Chilwell and Kepa, who both scored decent points in 29, but maybe their attack isn't that great, and that's why they did not win the match against Liverpool. In terms of, I guess, Leicester is something I'd maybe talk about. They have Bournemouth at home, which is one of the most favorable fixtures in the Premier League, but maybe the star player who we expected to return the most was James Maddison, who a lot of people brought in but did not perform. He blanked in both games, so not really something to go into given that they have City away next and they don't have any more doubles coming up. So there's a lot of other opportunities to look at where there's double game weeks coming up, 34, 37, maybe 35 or 36 for like 2 teams. So you want to try and load up on those players unless you want to do like a quick buy and sell to just benefit off the next 2 fixtures, which I may get into in this video. And yeah, Liverpool has Arsenal at home, so one of the most toughest fixtures, I guess, although they're home. But Arsenal look in great form, and you don't want to get like say Liverpool's defensive assets. And then we have City have Southampton away and Leicester at home next in 31, so that's a pretty good fixture and pretty good 2 fixtures before they blank. And then they have, I guess, Arsenal home and then a favorable double in 34. And Man U also have a similar kind of route where they have 2 good fixtures, then a blank, and then a double in 34. So Man U and Man City players are pretty good buy, I guess, if you are going to free hit in 32. And yeah, for me, I do have 3 Man U already while 0 City, so you can guess who I may want to buy. And yeah, I think that's pretty much sums it up. Tottenham players they have Brighton at home and Bournemouth at home, but they just have like say one player who you'd want. But yeah, let's move into the stats about the teams that we want to target based on the goals against, and then move on from there to see which teams are facing the weaker teams this game week and the next. So to quickly touch on this section, I've arranged this table by the teams that have the highest expected goals against, because we try and look at statistics in this video and try and see which teams are the most vulnerable at the back, maybe to buy our forwards or even our defenders who are a bit more attacking. And definitely the first team that you'd see on the list is Bournemouth, and as you saw, Leicester's facing them this week and Spurs is facing them next week, both at home. So maybe that's something to count on when looking at the players you want to really have on your game week 30 draft. In terms of maybe Leeds, Villa, not so much to target, I guess, because Villa's doing great, Leeds is okay, not too bad, Everton's pretty okay again under Daesh. Nottingham Forest are seeming to be the team that we could also target. They've been conceding a lot, so more on that later. And then Leicester, they've been very shaky defensively, that's for sure. There's Wolves, Liverpool's been shaky, and I guess Arsenal's facing them. So if you have any attackers, don't rush to remove them, because Liverpool can definitely concede. I think they had a very many chances that they could have conceded against Chelsea. I think Havertz had like an XG of 1.62 or something, and he didn't score. So really it shows that they could have conceded a lot, and with clinical finishers like Arsenal do have, they could definitely concede some in that game. And yeah, I guess it finishes off with Crystal Palace and Fulham. So from this team, I think some of the picks that I have chosen may include a fixture against Bournemouth and maybe Nottingham Forest, but yeah, we'll go right into it and see who we have for this week. So moving on to the next section, the number one pick for game week 30 is Erling Haaland. I think he's been exceptional this season. We all know what he's done, 28 league goals already. He's about to break a bunch of records, and I think a lot of us had sold him. That's why he's on this video. I usually don't put people like who everyone has, maybe like Trippier, who's owned like by 97% of experts or something. So I'm put people who may not have him, even though he has ownership of 72.2%. That's really kind of biased towards not the entire population. It's and if you look at maybe say the top 100-200k, not a lot of people have him, because a lot of people sold him when he was blanking and facing Liverpool next, which he did blank 2 in. So he blanked in 2 weeks, and that was, I guess, a good call on those who sold him. But I think it's time to bring him back. He has Southampton away next and Leicester at home. Those are pretty good fixtures. We saw Leicester in the team that have a very high expected goals against, and we have seen that in recent games. They've not been keeping clean sheets at all, and if you were to back someone to score against them, and Man City's playing, I think it would be their talisman, Haaland. So he's definitely someone who's got good stats to back him. 10 goals in the last 13 games, that's basically after the World Cup. An XG of 11.14, so in fact he could score more according to his XG. I think he's always in the right place. He may not be the best player in the Premier League according to some people, but he's definitely the best FPL option in my opinion, and it is very risky to go against him. I think I've lost a lot of places in this season by going against him and not captaining him, and not owning him would be a completely different thing, because I expect him to be captained about 60% if he's fit, or even more, I guess, if he's completely fit, and I expect to play more than say 80 minutes. But we will hear more on that from Pep Guardiola towards the deadline. I guess this video is published 3 to 4 days in advance, so we can't really know yet, but definitely look out to see if he's fit. If he's getting even say 60 minutes or any chance of being on the pitch, I think he could easily score a goal in very few minutes, even as little as 10-15 minutes. So definitely someone to have if you want to get him anyway for 34 or 33 or 31, and you might as well just get him now, because the points start coming in, and you know if he's fit, he's going to be playing a little, because they are fighting for a title. They're not just playing for the sake of it, so they definitely want their best man on the pitch as much as possible. So yeah, get him in. My number 2 pick for game week 30 is Harry Kane. I know he doesn't have a double in 34, but I think if you were looking for someone maybe to move on from someone like Kane or Havertz, who from Tony, who has the ban looming over his head, or Havertz, who has not been returning for you. I think Kane's a very decent option, maybe given that Haaland is not or given that there's another spot after Haaland or Haaland's not fit. I think Kane's been phenomenal, even in a Spurs side that's been doing really poorly. If you see a goal, it is Harry Kane always. Even last game, when they had a 1-1, he was the only one on the score sheet. He's on pens, he's always the guy in the D, waiting for headers, waiting for tap-ins, always creating, could get assists. He's got 10 goals in 14 games after the World Cup, and XG of 8.06. so even though his ownership may be kind of decent, I think if you have him, he is someone who's giving you consistent returns, and there's not a lot of very favorable fixtures in game week 30. So if you have someone who has a home fixture, is on pens, plays for a good team, who do create a lot of chances, I guess, on the counter, and he has a decent XG, I think you could definitely get him in. And another big selling factor is that he has Bournemouth at home in 31, so I think that's definitely something to go by. The most favorable fixture, as I mentioned before, in the Premier League. If you have Bournemouth at home, that's a good pick. And I guess if he doesn't blank in 32, he has Newcastle away, so that's not too bad, especially if you're not free hitting. So it depends on what kind of team you have set up, but this video kind of appeals to everyone with different strategies. If you want someone who's nailed on for maybe the next 2-3 game weeks, he's your man, and then you can always move on to a double game weeker in 33-34 accordingly. But I think he's pretty decent. He's got, I guess, an assist and 10 goals and a price that's kind of lower than, I guess, Salah and Haaland. I'm not sure, but definitely lower than Haaland. And yeah, he's got pens. That's always what you look for. And if people like, you have maybe Isaac, who's not starting regularly, Havertz is not converting his chances, someone who does convert and is consistent is Kane, so get him in. My number 3 pick for game week 30 is Kaoru Mitoma. I think he's been phenomenal, and a lot of people may have not expected him on this video, but there's quite a few good reasons for him to be deserving his chance here. Firstly, I think how much he overdoes compared to his XG and his XA is crazy. Like in the past, I remember mentioning that yeah, you might want to move from Mitoma to McAllister because he has better stats, but I think some situations you might have to go by your intuition or the eye test more than the stats, and this might be one of those scenarios. He's been phenomenal on that left wing for Brighton, even though he may not be getting, say, a lot of shots compared to March and McAllister. He is just the best finisher in that midfield, or even in that entire team. He's definitely one of the best finishers in the Premier League, having a great season. He's been, I think, giving returns the last 6 games in a row. He's got 6 goals and 3 assists after the World Cup. A pretty decent XG, I guess, and a decent XA, and very decently priced. His ownership is only 26% because I guess the Brighton mids are all spread across March, McAllister and Mitoma, who don't have a lot separating them. But I think if I really am missing out on him, I've missed out a lot of points having March and McAllister instead of him, and he's just been doing great every game. He has some contribution on that left wing. He scored a goal by an assist by the keeper, and then he gave an assist to Ferguson in the second game against Bournemouth for 29. So he's been returning pretty well. He got 13 points. I think McAllister got 9 and March 8. So he's the winner, and this has happened like the 3rd time after the World Cup. So he's really kind of edging ahead, even though the stats weren't with him. But I guess sometimes you have to look at not just who's getting the most shots, but who's converting the most, and I think he's definitely converting the most. And in terms of the fixtures, Tottenham and Chelsea may seem hard on paper, but we're in 2023. This season's very different from the rest. You can't just go by the name, you have to go by how good they are, you have to go by form. And I think in terms of form, I definitely expect Brighton to score in both these fixtures. They are the favourites in my opinion to even win them, because Tottenham have not been great, Chelsea have not been great, and Brighton are just smashing everyone they face in the most recent games, I guess. So definitely expect some returns from him. If you have space, maybe you only have 2 Brighton assets, maybe you're trying to move on from a forward or another midfielder to get money or some sort of reason, whatever you have. If you have space, get him in. He's definitely a good pick. They have 4 doubles coming up, and he's someone who just keeps on returning, and that is something that could, I guess, differentiate you if people don't. Maybe you have space for 3 Brighton midfielders and you get him in, and that differentiates you from someone who has Estupinian, who keeps not getting points because maybe they concede a goal every game. So yeah, I think that's it. Get him in. He's great value and he's providing great returns so far. Moving on to the last section of this video, I'm just going to go over the watch list to mention a few players that have been performing very well, have been getting good returns, and some people I'm looking to bring in. Firstly, Evan Ferguson from Brighton. He's the forward, the 18-year-old who's been doing wonders for the last, I guess, 3 or 4 games. He's been exceptional, scoring a beautiful flick against Bournemouth and getting, I guess, 8 or 9 points. He's been great this season. Since he's been introduced, a team that has been scoring a lot, he's their main man at the front, and I expect him to just get better and better. He has not been on the scene as much as, I guess, March, Mitoma and McAllister. That's why not a lot of people have him. So if you're trying to climb up the ranks, he's your guy to go in the near future, as long as he keeps his place ahead of competition from Welbeck. I think he's a decent pick because he's not owned that highly, and a lot of people will not have the transfers to shift between Brighton assets, and he may be someone who gives you that extra edge because he's the most forward guy, and maybe someone like McAllister is much more behind in the pitch. So that's a good factor when all the crosses are coming in. A team that plays a lot from the wings, he's the guy to attack them. He's who they're creating for. So definitely a good pick in my opinion. Mo Salah, he scored against City, one of the hardest fixtures, I guess, and then he was dropped the next game, so it might be a bit surprising that he's here. That's why he's on my watch list. He's not on my top 3. I think I want to see how they evolve from here, how they take on the next few games against Arsenal especially. But I think he definitely will be starting most of the rest of the games, I guess, because he is their main man. He's always the guy who's doing a lot on the right wing, creating some chances, getting in behind and doing both goals and, I guess, playmaking. So he is someone who's very crucial to Liverpool's success over the last few years, and even this season he's not got too bad stats. He's got pretty okay stats. So yeah, I think Klopp was just trying to play around with his team, make a statement that yeah, no one's place is safe if you guys don't play well. But I think he's definitely gonna go back right into the starting 11, so get him in. Maybe not this week, but once you know that he's over the Arsenal fixture, which is a tough one, and he's regained his starting spot. Lastly, to talk about Grealish, I think is someone who's very risky. I'll put it right there. It's very risky to own a City midfielder. We've seen that before in this season with Mahrez, with Foden. You don't want to blindly just get Grealish and then wonder why you have him and are stuck with him and then want to transfer him out in the next 2 weeks. But you need a lot of patience. You need a lot of risk appetite, I guess, if you want him, because he could easily lose his place when one day Pep wakes up with a different mood. So he's someone who's been kind of cementing his spot in that left wing role for City and providing goals and assists pretty regularly. So if he's starting, I expect him to score against almost every team. I mean, score or return any assist or goal against any team. But it's kind of in doubt because he could just come off after 60. He could not start and just come on for 10 minutes. So we gotta watch, see if he keeps on starting. If he performs better and better, I think he might be able to cement that spot. Maybe this time it's different from Foden and Mahrez, and given that Foden's injured, that kind of helps him a lot more to get more minutes. So yeah, that's it for today. Hope you like this video. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want to add, any comments you have about any of the players. But yeah, good luck for game week 30, and I guess these are not just for 30, but it's for 30, 31, 32 up to 34, I guess. So yeah, subscribe to our channel. Let me know in the comments below if you like this video, if there's any people you don't agree with or you do, and yeah, leave a like, and see you soon for game week 31.